She was just a kid, quiet, hopeful, and proud of her mom. But one careless laugh from a police officer would turn that pride into humiliation. He didn't see her as the daughter of a hero. He didn't even see her as a child worthy of respect. In that moment, the uniform he wore became a weapon, not a shield. What he didn't know was that the truth was about to walk right through those doors, and nothing would ever be the same again. It was supposed to be an exciting day for 12-year-old Maya, a bright, soft-spoken girl who rarely bragged about anything, except when it came to her mom. To her, her mother wasn't just a parent. She was a hero, serving in the special forces, training for missions Maya could barely imagine. That afternoon, Maya waited outside a small convenience store, clutching a candy bar and humming her favorite song. Her world was simple: school, friends, and the quiet pride she carried in her heart. She didn't know that within minutes, everything about this day would shift. A police cruiser slowed as it approached the parking lot. Two officers stepped out, exchanging a glance she couldn't quite read. When they spotted Maya standing alone, they walked toward her, calm at first, almost casual. But something about their faces, something about the way their smiles twisted, made her chest tighten. One of them asked what she was doing there, his tone sharp, despite his grin. When Maya nervously mentioned that she was waiting for her mom, a decorated special forces officer, the laugh that followed stung deeper than any insult. He didn't believe her. He didn't want to. And what Maya didn't know was that this small, humiliating moment was about to spiral into something far bigger, something that would expose truths neither of them was ready to face. The officer's laugh hung in the air like a slap, sharp and humiliating. Maya tried to force a smile, hoping maybe he'd stop, but instead, he leaned closer, his voice low, mocking. "Special forces, huh? That's cute. And I suppose she's the president too?" Maya's throat tightened, but she nodded anyway. "She really is, sir. My mom's in the army. She's a hero." The other officer chuckled under his breath, shaking his head. "Yeah, sure. You kids will say anything these days." The laughter wasn't just disbelief. It carried something heavier. A silent judgment. A quiet dismissal. To them, Maya's skin, her voice, her very presence told a story they'd already decided they knew. She looked down at her sneakers, willing the tears not to fall, but the heat in her chest was unbearable. Every second stretched longer, the silence broken only by the sound of the officers' radios crackling faintly in the background. Then one of them took a step closer, towering over her. "All right, sweetheart," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Why don't we wait here for your superhero mom to show up? Should be entertaining." Maya's stomach dropped. His voice wasn't protective. It wasn't kind. It was a challenge, a dare. Minutes crawled by like hours. The longer they waited, the more people began to notice. A couple walking by slowed, whispering to each other. A man standing near the gas pump glanced over, frowning, but no one intervened. No one ever does. Inside, Maya's mind raced. She replayed every moment her mom had told her to stay calm, to keep her head down, to never give them a reason. But how do you stay calm when the reason is just existing? And then, just when she thought the humiliation had reached its peak, one of the officers muttered under his breath, but loud enough for her to hear, "Bet her mom's not even around. Probably just another one of those stories." The words sliced deeper than anything else. She clenched her fists, silently begging her mom to hurry. Finally, the faint rumble of an engine broke through the tension. A dark SUV pulled into the lot, sunlight glinting off its tinted windows. The officers turned, smirks still fixed on their faces. But the moment the door opened, everything shifted. A woman stepped out, broad-shouldered, commanding, her uniform pressed and spotless, medals gleaming faintly in the afternoon sun. Her boots hit the pavement with purpose, each step carrying the weight of years spent serving, sacrificing, surviving. The laughter stopped. One of the officers straightened his posture instinctively, but it was too late. That single moment, those 3 seconds of silence, felt louder than anything Maya had ever heard, and what happened next would change everything. For a moment, time stood still. The woman stepped out of the SUV, Maya's mom, Sergeant Elena Carter, her presence commanding. Without a single word, the officers straightened instinctively, their earlier smirks vanishing like smoke. "Is there a problem here?" Her voice was calm, controlled, but it carried a weight that silenced everything around them. One of the officers stammered, We're just making sure your daughter was okay, ma'am." Elena's gaze sharpened. Making sure she's okay, by mocking her, by laughing at her. The officer swallowed hard, shifting uncomfortably, but said nothing. Maya stood frozen, her chest tight, feeling the sting of every second that had passed. This was the moment she had dreaded, and the one she would never forget. Elena stepped forward, close enough that the insignia on her uniform caught the light. "You doubted her," she said, her voice low but razor-sharp. "You looked at my daughter and decided her story couldn't be true. Because of what? Because she doesn't look like the daughter of a hero to you?" The parking lot was silent. A few bystanders had pulled out their phones recording, their lenses capturing the weight of the moment. The officer opened his mouth but closed it again, realizing there was nothing he could say. The authority he had wielded moments ago had evaporated in the presence of a woman who had faced real battles, real danger, and now stood ready to fight for her daughter's dignity. Finally, Elena knelt beside Maya, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You never have to prove who you are to anyone," she whispered. And as she rose, locking eyes with the officers one final time, she left them with a single sentence that would haunt them long after she drove away. "You just showed my daughter the battle I've been fighting my entire life." But this moment was only the beginning. The SUV door closed softly, but the silence it left behind was deafening. Maya sat in the passenger seat, hands trembling, watching the officers shrink in the rearview mirror. They didn't apologize. They didn't admit they were wrong. But their silence said enough. Elena reached across, gently taking Maya's hand. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. "Not because of me, but because you stood there and held your head high." For the first time that day, Maya let herself cry, not out of fear, but out of release. Every laugh, every dismissive glance, every whispered judgment had weighed on her. Until now. But as they drove away, Elena knew this wasn't just about one afternoon in a parking lot. This wasn't just about Maya. It was about every child who's been doubted, every family who's been mocked, every life where worth is measured by skin before character. And that's the real tragedy, the quiet, relentless erosion of dignity that so many face daily. One laugh, one assumption, one moment where humanity is stripped away. Maya would never forget this day, not because of the humiliation, but because of what followed. She had seen her mother stand tall, not just as a soldier, but as a mother, a protector, and a fighter in a battle far older than she was. And the question lingered, not just for Maya, not just for Elena, but for all of us watching, listening, living this reality. How many more moments like this must happen before we change? Before laughter turns into understanding and judgment turns into respect? Answer in the comments. Because until that day comes, stories like Maya's won't just be her story, they'll be our story.